What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of What's the Dealio? I am your boy, Jay Ciano, Sabre Real Estate Advisors, Scale Franchise Solutions, and most importantly, SBX with the man, Michael Steinberg.
My name is Mike Steinberg. Good morning, everyone. Today we have an unbelievable guest. He's an absolute monster in what he does. I want to introduce Eric.
What's going on? My name's Eric Braun, Senior Vice President of Strategic Growth at Contour Mortgage. Been in the mortgage business for a little less than a decade. So I'm happy to be here, though. Thank you, guys.
Of course.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for coming.
Thanks for joining us, man.
So you do mostly residential deals, commercial deals?
Mostly residential. I always make the joke and say anything with anything that has to do with money and real estate, I have an outlet for. But our bread and butter is residential for family and below.
Perfect. So, can you tell us about your story, how you got started to the business?
Sure. I don't think anybody grows up and is like, I want to be in the mortgage business. So I completely fell into the industry. I got sober at a young age. I got sober at 20. I met what I thought to be successful individual that always, to me, success was you had a brand new car and had a suit and tie. To me, I was like, that means you're rich, right? So I met a gentleman that always wore a suit and tie, was always, professional, drove a brand new Audi. I was a big Audi guy at the time. And we connected over that. And basically he made a joke oh, why don't you come be my chauffeur? I'll buy a new Audi and you just come be my driver. And I was ready to sign the fucking dotted line.
I'm Lutz Purse, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's lots.
So I was ready to sign up right then and there. To me, that was a dream job at the time. I wasn't working. I was, again, newly sober. I didn't have much direction in life. I was like, that sounds like a slam dunk of an opportunity to be a driver, right? Went back and forth with this guy for 2-3 weeks. Every time I spoke to him, I was like, when can I come work for you? When can I come work for you? When can I come work for you? Are you going to buy the car yet? And come to find out, he was busting my balls the whole time. And he goes, why don't you come to my office? I have a real job for you. And I went to his office in a t-shirt, didn't know it was a job interview. I sat down in some weird conference room. He put paperwork in front of me and I started signing an employment package. It's you're going to get paid X amount of dollars per week. There's a little bit of, bonus sort of situation going on. I was like, what do you do? What am I going to be doing on a daily basis? It's we help people lower their monthly payment, consolidate debt, and take cash without, he threw some telemarketing line at me essentially from the rebuttal book, and next thing you know, I was telemarketing in the mortgage industry. And yeah, to me, it wasn't a career at first. To me, it was just a job.
Yeah.
My career my path at the time, I was an EMT. I was following my father's footsteps. He's a paramedic for FDNY. So I had this EMT license. I was volunteering in a volunteer fire department in Long Island, and really, I was just waiting for FDNY to call me. Playing that game, you put your name on the list and you wait, right? But in the meantime, let me do this mortgage job. And next thing you know, FDNY does call me. It's about a year and a half into the mortgage business. And I'm like, I'm going to give this thing a chance. And I got my license, started to actually take it seriously, build my own business, my own brand. That's when the social media stuff happened. And here we are today. So that's the long, it's the wire.
I ask a few questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's lots to unpack.
Yeah.
One, you got sober before you were even legally able to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
So
I never had a legal drink.
So I recently am sober. So
right.
Yeah, this year essentially, right? So I'm super interested in that.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're here to talk about deals and business and everything else, but I want to touch on that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how you decided at that young age that you should be sober.
A lot of emotional pain. Mentally, I was broken. Spiritually, I was broken. Physically, I was freaking 30, 40 pounds less than I am right now. Green. Just not in good shape. I struggled with addiction. So yes, that's the only reason you get sober at 20 is like you had a problem, you know.
Of course.
So I had my few stints with treatment pretty much my whole life, and I didn't really decide.
Yeah.
Something else decided for me, I believe, and then this whole other life opened up.
All right. Well, first off, kudos to that because that you're extremely strong for being able to make it out of that, and I think that says a lot about what we're going to learn from you about resilience in business. So
It does play hand in hand.
yeah. So now back to the guy who was messing with you about the chauffeur job.
Yeah.
Who is this person?
So shout out to Eric Brinke. So basically his career has been him developing some of the heaviest hitters in the mortgage industry.
Okay.
He has his own story. I'll let him tell it. But he's a guy from the subprime era that had a whole building filled with cold callers and telemarketers back in the Wild West days. And basically his role at the company, and still is now, is to just kind of bring up the new guys.
Yeah.
To me, he taught me how to speak. Like I always make the joke and I say I didn't speak English. I spoke a whole another language, right? So he taught me how to speak. He taught me, how to handle objections on the phone. There's a lot of like sales, but also that's really minimizing what he taught me. He also taught me about like life.
Yeah.
To show up and be a man and everything. I think he sees his talent is not only like developing people, but one of his other talents is seeing and believing in somebody before they even believe in themselves.
And do you think that you guys were connected, for that reason? Like, a spiritual way? Or?
Absolutely.
Yeah, like he came into your life at the right time. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think, that's really interesting to hear your background and how you say that you kind of just fell into the business.
Right. Everything, I mean, firm believer in like everything happens for a reason. I know on a previous episode you were talking about like energy and stuff like that. And I think, I think sometimes we feel like we're lost, but he's got it all figured out.
Yeah.
He's got the next years figured out, and it's about trusting that. So that's just been my experience. That's not like me, reading a book or freaking listening to some podcasts or that's been my experience. It's like when I feel lost and don't know what I'm doing, stuff freaking connects in pretty cool ways. But yeah,
She's still in the game with you?
yeah. So now, I don't telemarket anymore, but like when I bring on somebody new, I'm like, you need to just sit next to him. Just sit next to him, and he'll make jokes like, oh, you guys don't get the abuse that I did with Eric, because the world has changed a little.
Sure.
So and even a little bit. Yeah, even when I was coming up, I wasn't. He would tell me the same thing, like, oh, you should have seen what we did back in the day and whatever. But I needed that. I needed that. Like somebody stern, kind of making sure that I holding me accountable. So yeah, that's Eric Brinke. He's the love that I'm talking about him. I'll shout him out right here.
A lot of what you said, I feel like I can relate to and similar experiences. Mike, how about you? Like, were you ever like speaking English as a second language because you thought you were a gangster? Or? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was a background on Mike. I was a bad boy. Okay. Single mom, very struggled a lot as a kid. But like everywhere else, I just worked my ass off. Had 4 or 5 jobs at the same time. Real estate, I was real estate, and
I got lucky to learn about just like that guy. I met someone like that in the business broker world, and I learned a little bit of tricks and started all firm.
Yeah, well, it's funny because we know each other, or getting to know each other better, even by doing this podcast, and we all have that in common. It's kind of like being lost and then finding yourself, and then also wanting to help other people. And
I hope some of my high school teachers are watching the tape.
there you go. So take us from boom, you're there, you're working, you're telemarketing, right? And what happens next?
Like I said, I didn't really take the business seriously the first year and a half, maybe even two. When I made that decision, when I was at that crossroads of like, okay, FDNY called me, I did the physical. I'm like, I'm gonna either go down this path or I'm gonna stay on this path. And when I made that decision, that's when kind of the magic happened. And there's been, I always make the analogy, like it's been like little breadcrumbs leading me and little lessons and experiences, and they kind of all stack on top of each other. But I think the decision needs to be made first. And when I made that decision, I really went full force with social media and started to build my brand. That's when, Not Your Average Lender was born, and there's tons of stuff that happened.
How many years ago was that? Like what?
That was seven years ago. Yeah. So because I got
early.
I got in the business. I got in the business 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Let's call it 8, and it took me like a year
to really, start taking things seriously and make that decision. But then from that moment on, and listen, it wasn't like anything like my content is today. It was completely different. It was more like me posting like motivational stuff and like the corny freaking lion pictures with a motivational quote. Like that was, and social media has changed so much. Yep. Like there's been phases with that too, but I would say that's how it really started, is me just like posting positivity. And there was old friends of mine and acquaintances that would be like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, posting this positive, like, what are you, a motivational speaker? And da-da-da-da. I was like, I don't really know. I know I need to do something, and I think this is the right thing. And I just kept experimenting with it. And now the platforms have changed, and it's completely different. But that's how it started.
Were you heavy Gary Vaynerchuk?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
There
of course.
you go. That's the reason.
Gary V and Grant. I would say I was heavy Grant first.
Okay.
I was heavy Grant first. Grant's more of the sales business person in my mind, and then at least the content that they talk about. Gary Vee is, of course, a business person. He's done crazy things, but huge exits and whatever. But yeah, Gary, I think, is more of like my marketing personal brand mentor, as he is for hundreds of thousands of people, right? Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. My thing was, nobody in the mortgage industry was doing social media.
Yeah.
And if they were, it's just not what I wanted to do. So basically what I did was I looked outside of the mortgage industry and started to emulate that stuff.
Spot on.
I started to emulate like some of the business personalities and like Gary Vee and influencers even. I would study what they do. And I was like, I'm going to do that, but in this space.
Yeah.
And now you're doing conferences, right?
Yeah. So, I've spoke across the country in Boston, in Wyoming, Colorado, San Diego, Miami, at different industry events, as well as like sometimes outside of the industry a little bit, like entrepreneurial stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, that's all from social media. Like I want to, my ideal life consists of me being able to touch down in any city of the world and have dinner with somebody. Like I
Which
think
is so easy to do.
now it is. Yeah. Because of this amazing free tool that we have. But that's one of the perks for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's real quickly to everybody listening, the minute that we walked in here and met each other, I said, how did you guys meet? And the answer was social media.
Right.
I also started heavy on social as a result of Gary Vaynerchuk and going to Agent 2021 and
Awesome.
speaking with Gary and meeting with Gary several times and kind of getting guidance from him. And it was the same exact thing. Like the people in my world, in the commercial real estate space, family members would be like, dude, who do you think you are? Like,
Right.
what are you doing? And you're in real estate. Like, why are you on camera?
Right.
Why is this girl following you around with a camera? Brittany,
Right.
who's here right now. You know, and it's, I would ask you to kind of share, you know, how that process has changed, or in general, how your people around you, you know, do they still question whether
No,
it works?
not at all.
Or you know, are some of the people that were naysayers trying to do it? Bring us into that.
Yeah. So, and I don't know if they're friends or we're acquaintances, but I had people tell me like, "Yo, nobody's gonna get a mortgage from you. Why don't you just quit?"
Wow.
And those same people are referring me
Doesn't that
clients
fuel
from
you
their
up,
job.
though? Doesn't that fuel you?
So Eric Brinke, the guy that I was explaining, he would always just look at me. He's like an oracle.
Yeah.
You know, so he'd always look at me and he's just like, just remember. He said, just remember what they say. Remember what they say. So, yeah, it did fuel me up. I think sometimes it was also super discouraging. Like when you're going through it, like, because it's fine when people say it or say negative things, or, you know, what the hell are you doing on social media? Who do you think you are, right? It's fine when people say it, but when you start to believe it is when it takes a toll on you. Sure. And at the time, I was prone, still am, to, you know, absorb negativity and let it affect me. So it was motivating, but it was also discouraging. Now they completely understand. Right now it's like, you know, your grandma can understand.
You know what though? A lot of people still don't. And honestly,
Really?
Yeah. Like there are so many people around. I mean, listen, I guess you're younger than me.
Yeah.
So in your, you know, it's a lot more commonplace, but there's
Right.
still plenty of people that I'm surrounded by that don't really get it, because I'm also not like, hey, by the way, I met this person as a result of it and I closed, you know,
Right.
millions of dollars in business because
Right.
of my Instagram feed, right?
Right.
I'm not that like specific about the ROI of doing these things, but I think it'd be powerful for you to tell the people listening right now, like,
The ROI.
no, like that if they're having these doubts about doing the things and they're starting to, and the people are in their ear,
Yeah.
that they hold in high regard because maybe they were successful in a different time and place before this shit existed, not to fucking listen.
Yeah, I think.
What would you say to the younger you?
I think you have to boil it down to what's your goal, right? So my goal at the time was to do more mortgages. So if my goal is to do more mortgages, who's my target audience? You know, first-time home buyers, realtors, specifically a lot of realtors. That's what I kind of focused my marketing on, or at the time.
Because they refer your business.
Correct. Because yes. So instead of marketing to customers, I would market to realtors because realtors have customers.
Strategic partners for you.
Correct. So if again, my goal is to do more mortgages, my target audience is realtors. How do I reach more realtors? Is do social media. Like if I just keep it super basic of like, this is why I'm doing it, then I think you can kind of push through the discouraging negative people. But I mean, listen, like you also have to, you have to have, comes back to confidence and self-esteem, and like some people don't have that. I'm not saying I did either. I was just able to turn off the negative thoughts.
I have a stupid question.
Go ahead.
Do you know how many realtors are on Instagram?
Probably everyone, even the ones that don't do business. So I don't know. hundreds.
I want to find that answer out.
I feel like
by
I don't
the
know
way-
how many realtors in general there are. It's probably millions.
2 million.
I
2
love
million
that-
active real estate agents.
I love that you said,
Huh.
you know, even the ones that don't do business, right? So I came out after really forging, truly being the first person in the commercial real estate brokerage space that had a weekly vlog,
Right.
very Daily V, and I've been on Daily V, and Britt would follow me around. We would do a bird's eye view into my week, essentially. And on Friday morning, in my email newsletter, every Friday religiously, there would be an episode to the vlog, which was essentially my week.
And who would you send that out to?
Our email list of about 30,000 people in the commercial real estate industry
Okay.
overall, not just, we have so many distribution lists, but it would be everybody. So it's
Okay.
about 30,000 people.
And the goal, like, who was the target
Awareness.
audience? Okay,
The
got
goal
it.
was always awareness.
Gotcha.
So to me,
And I heard of you, before I even met you. I heard of you. I've seen you. I've known a lot about you from your social media.
right,
So
just
clearly shit works.
Well, yeah, I mean, so, but it,
And I see
again-
Saber I see Saber everywhere. Everywhere you drive, you see Saber.
Well, that was always, Mike, it's funny because, for me, I honestly, we had a bad year in 2015, and there were a couple things that transpired with a team that was a big producing team. We didn't see eye to eye. We went different ways. And I was like, I got to shake shit up. Like, it was the holidays in 2015. I'm like, what do I do to draw more attention to Saber? And I was literally sitting on my couch, and coincidentally, friends of ours came over, and the husband was in television. And I started picking his brain, right? And I'd been listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, like at the gym and so on and so forth.
Right.
And I'm like, how would I be able to, produce my own series of videos and da-da. And he gave me tips on it, and I was like, what do I have to lose? I mean, at this point, I felt like I was really down, and that the world was coming to an end, and either I was gonna, die trying, right? So
Right.
it was this critical moment for me, and all I did was
So you're 50 Cent.
yeah, 100%.
Get rich or die trying.
I'm 100% 50 Cent.
We all are. It seems like we all are.
Yeah, who's our boy that? I was just thinking about Blaze.
Blaze, yeah.
The but all of the feedback that I got was negative, bro. And again, from people, the people closest to me, there were very few people that believed in what I was doing. But fortunately, my partners believed enough in me to let me run with this ridiculous vision that we were spending a lot of money on, no less.
Right.
And then it's funny because once I got to the conferences for our industry, all anybody wanted to talk about was why I was doing this.
Right.
And as a result, I was on their tongues, right? So they were talking about me, and I always heard the term it doesn't matter what people are saying, about you. It's just that they're talking about
Right.
you. So I subscribed to that, and that's really what kept me through all the negativity. And there was tons of it. And I just want to emphasize to anybody that being more top of mind in the sales industry is
It's
what
everything.
more could you ask for?
Right. It's everything.
And that's what this stuff does. And that's why Mike and I, when we met a while back, I'm like, Mike, you got to go all in on this social media shit.
I wasn't on social media.
And
when I
kudos
met
to
him.
Mike, dude. He took that.
But you were
ball
doing
and ran
LinkedIn,
with
no?
I was always doing LinkedIn. I was big on LinkedIn, but
I feel like I look at your LinkedIn all right, that's what I strive to be on LinkedIn. So
LinkedIn is wild, and I would push.
I always shied away from it.
Me too.
Always shied away from it. But I started to change my mindset. And then I actually started to mess around with it. It's like, again, Gary V.
Yeah.
This guy's getting, should pay us. But so,
That's not gonna happen.
never. So I wanted to be like, okay, a consumer of the platform and experiment with the platform. And then I'm like, it's not that bad. I kind of like this. Now I check it.
Yeah.
And I see your stuff. So I would love to hear your tips on LinkedIn.
It's easier to get attention there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's easier. It's
LinkedIn.
not as crowded.
Yeah, it's not as crowded. The goal with LinkedIn for me was just consistency, like everything else, and putting value out there. So I would put real live examples of deals that I have. I would break it down. A lot of our deals are seller financing deals, where when people see that, they're like, it's different.
Right.
So it was total consistency, and every single week you're allowed to connect with 200 people. So I make sure I always hit, no matter what, 200 people every week, because once a connection is made, they're a follower. So just
When you say, meaning you'll follow them, or what does that mean?
When you go on LinkedIn, go to my network, and you'll see connect with everyone. Just
Right.
connect with as many until it says you reached your weekly limit.
Right.
Stop connecting.
So you do that weekly?
I do that. I do that every week.
So it doesn't matter how many
every
people
Sunday,
you're following,
every
unlike Instagram, where you're like, I don't
no,
have all these.
every
Right,
Sunday
right.
at 8 p.m. it resets.
Okay,
So that's a
See?
that's a good tip.
there you go.
Little tip.
And also obviously LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I don't know if
Right.
you know about that.
No, come on.
Tell us
This
about that.
hack right here, this gem, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So you got to pay. I think it's like $50 or $100 a month, but it's the best $50 or $100 you'll spend, because what you can do. So in my industry, I can look up I can go to hotel. I can go to hotel, right? And I can go to New York, and then I can choose owner, co-owner, manager, and I can pinpoint the positions, GM, and then it shows you, it narrows down that list to all the decision makers of all the hotels. Do that with the car wash space, the laundromat space. And then what's so cool is there's APIs and applications. Phantom Busters is one, where you can go into Phantom Busters, which I do, and anytime I connect with somebody on LinkedIn, I send them an automated message from Phantom Busters, and I say, "What's up, Eric? Very nice meeting you." Or, "Hi, Eric. Hope you're well. If you know any buyers or sellers that are interested in selling or buying, please refer them to me, and I would be happy to give you a referral fee automatically." And then I pinpoint who I send that to. So I'll say that to all the real estate agents. To the hotel people, I'll say, if you know any hotel, if you're interested in expanding, please let me know. And sometimes they get back to me like, we're interested in selling.
Right.
So look into LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Watch YouTube videos on it. It's such a good tool.
Now, question, because you're still active in the trenches selling businesses, correct?
So I am. I kind of took a back seat this year because I built a massive infrastructure.
Right.
So now I'm actually buying car washes.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay.
But I am building Headstone, and last week we brought in 25 new brokers.
So that's where my mind was going. Is like, you're still doing the link, you're still doing outreach and like
I have to.
prospecting, even though you have Headstone and you're building Headstone.
Yeah, so my main goal, my active daily job is just sitting at a bird's eye view and building Headstone, because no one's ever built a business brokerage company like this before. It's the first time ever. So I'm trying to find real estate agents. I just partnered up with an insurance guy that sold his company for tons of money. He has 6,000 insurance agents that work for him, all in a group. And we just brought 25 over, and they're beasts. And they're on my team now, and they're just sending us deals. I'm building a street army of people, and the goal is to hit 1,000 agents the next year.
Guy's fucking inspiring.
That's it, man.
You know what's interesting? I want to also mention that, when it comes to prospecting, right? My company's 12 going on 13 years old. And as a result of my personal brand through Instagram, the fact that I've built a community of people that are outside of my industry, essentially, which you were talking about earlier, when I reach out, my expertise in the advisory space is really like healthy lifestyle companies, whether it's Orange Theory Fitness, Barry's Boot Camp, Solid Core, these types of businesses, essentially. Anything that's healthy lifestyle oriented, I have to prospect because I bring in the bulk of those accounts for our companies.
Right.
Because when I DM somebody based on who I'm connected to in the fitness industry, right? Like overall, not the commercial real. Nobody who owns these businesses cares about who you're connected to in commercial real estate. They care about the fact that I'm connected to these people with millions of followers that have tremendous influence in the industry, and they're also connected to them.
Right.
Right. So I have a lot more in common with the business owners and my ideal client than anybody else at my company.
Right.
So that development of a personal brand over the years has given me such an insane competitive edge of getting and landing accounts.
I just feel like our industry, and probably similar to yours, it's very hard to be the rainmaker and then also scale and build the sales team.
I didn't say this was easy, bro.
Yeah, no.
I didn't say this was easy.
I'm saying, so if I was like knocking doors and bringing on account, there would be no freaking possible way that I could do that many loans personally,
Right.
unless I hire an insane, ops and support staff.
So let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
Let's
So-
talk about. I want
yeah.
to talk about that
Yeah.
too.
So that just when I hear you say that, where do you spend the bulk of your time in your role at your company, and how transactional are you, and what does your team look like?
So I would say 80% of my time right now, and this is something that I actually want to get away from, but 80% of my time right now is my personal production.
Okay.
That entails sitting down with, realtors, potential referral partners, and then also servicing those clients.
Sure.
Because mortgages are complicated. It's not like something that, I can speak to a client once and then it closes. That's very rare. I wish it was, but there's constant questions throughout the home searching process. There's a lot of work and thoroughness that we have to do about reviewing documents up front, and then that person doesn't even find a house. But when they find a house, we kind of restart that up, and then there's the underwriting, title, appraisal. There's so many different things because we're so regulated, and it's just so many moving parts. So I would say 80% of my time is building and servicing my personal production.
I have a question
Go
for
ahead.
you. So when you get a new account, when someone wants to do a loan, and you ask them for the document requests, their tax returns and everything, do you have a tool that can basically look at those tax returns and basically just generate a report for you, or do you have to manually do that?
Yeah, it's very manual. Our industry is very antiquated.
Would that save you a
tech-wise.
lot of time if you had a tool that can just basically?
Sure. However, it would have to be checked because of whoever makes that decision is on the hook for that loan.
Yeah.
So that's why underwriters exist.
Of course.
Now, is there AI underwriting technology? Yes, it's starting to become more prevalent.
You should get that into that now before anyone does that.
Yeah, it's in the works, but I think I wish it was easy as just having a software review taxes, because that would be super easy. But these are consumers; they're not business owners. So we have pictures of pay stubs that are half cut off, and it's not the right. It's from freaking 6 months ago. So even if you have the software to handle it,
Oh, really?
people are imperfect.
Yeah, of course.
So it's listen, there's a lot of challenges with scaling this business, but the people who can figure it out, there's obviously huge upside.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
but 80% of my business, 80% of my time is focused on it's personal production, whether it's building or servicing those clients and referral base. And then the other 20% of my time is doing more like high leverage stuff, like working on our tech and building out our CRM and training and development and marketing and organizing events and having one-on-ones with our LOs. I want to do more of that because my goal is to build a mortgage company.
Sure.
Point blank. And it's very hard. That's why I was trying to understand how you balance prospecting and building that personal business, right? And LinkedIn and stuff like that, but also have all these brokers.
It's all about the team. It's honestly the simple answer is you can't. You win championships with your team. My team is on a 5-on-5. You can't beat us because
I like that.
everyone has their
that.
skill set.
Is there, How long did it take you? Now, when you say team, is it the support?
It's a developer. My senior WordPress developer is an absolute monster. You know, he could come up with different landing pages in a second, and we can pump volume out. My executive assistant, she's available 25/8. My other assistants available 25/8. My mentors are on deck. You know, I just hired a full-time AI engineer who works, you know, in the government and Microsoft, and you know, he's gonna change. We're gonna change the game with AI right now.
So people are the problem, but people are also the solution in
Yeah, I
every
think
business.
Mike's making it sound really easy. And I will say,
I know. He's grinding his.
well, no, beyond
his
him
ass off,
grinding,
but-
he's very good at what he does.
Right.
And, you know, but I will say that it's not easy for somebody who's a good broker
Mm-hmm.
and relies heavily on transactions to be a top producer, to build a company from scratch,
Mm-hmm. Right.
because it is very different.
It's a completely different skill set.
And by
Yeah.
the way, it's also not very easy for somebody who's really good at being a great broker and making a lot of money at that to be a manager.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So like, you know, there are way less people that are not only capable of doing it,
Right.
but once they start doing it, want to continue doing it.
Right.
Because a lot of people are better off just being really big producers,
100%.
taking their money and investing it in other things,
100%.
as opposed. Like I'm only saying that because if I had to start over again 13 years ago and build Sabre from scratch, I would absolutely not do it.
Wow.
Yeah, I was very discouraged when I didn't tell you this. When I started Headstone, when I started Empire, I hired a developer in a different country, and basically, he robbed me blind. You know, I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's when I told myself, you know, I really have to make sure that I put the right team together.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, I found another developer, and you know, he was more expensive, but you know, you got to do it the right way.
You also have to be willing to make less money,
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's a marathon.
Right.
You know, you have to, if you're looking to build your own company, it has to be for the long term.
Yeah.
It's not, you're going to go backwards before you get forward, right?
Correct.
But the nice part is 23 years in the business now, I don't write any letters of intent. I don't, you know,
Right.
so it's nice. You get to a point where, you know, you're essentially firing yourself from all of the different positions that you were in when you started the company, but it's tough to get there.
Yeah.
Like, that's not easy to do.
Absolutely. I mean, automation and processes and CRMs and systems is everything. We can go into that.
And then having the right people to operate all of it.
Yeah.
Which is getting tougher. Not
It's I'm very, very blessed that we have I feel like we have so much freaking talent in our office. Now it's just all about putting them in the right role. Like, you got to stop doing these three things, and you got to focus all of your energy on this and just do this so that we can double.
Yeah.
That's sort of the conversation that me and my partner are having now, is like, we got the pieces. We're missing some tech stuff, which is like my realm, but we have the pieces as far as people, which is the hardest part. Like I said, people are the problem, but people are also the solution.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the EOS, the entrepreneurial
I'm
operating
actually
system?
I'm learning this right now. I
Yeah.
just started watching some videos on it last night.
Yeah. Have
So-
you read Traction?
No, I got
Read
it.
Traction.
So I got to do that's where it
That's
comes
the
from,
answer,
right?
Yeah.
You're always
Okay.
dropping gems,
Yeah,
man.
that's the answer.
Traction, EOS. Yeah, that's the second time somebody's brought that up to me in the past like few weeks.
It'll help.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I have my whole leadership team literally reading it again, and we're going through it again, because you'll constantly have to iterate.
Right.
To your point. In closing, this has been amazing. In closing, what other closing thoughts would you like to leave with our community?
Are we clear to close? Or?
We're clear to close. We're clear to close. Nah, I just I think fuck the haters. Don't listen to them. Just keep grinding, and also, like, you have to fall in love with the process. Like, all of this stuff is what I love about the business. We haven't talked about money once.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't talked about, like, you know, that's not, I like building and figuring stuff out and making it more efficient and, you have to fall in love with that journey in order to succeed at a high level. So fuck the haters, fall in love with the journey. And thank you guys for having me.
Of course, man. It was great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.